So it's funny because you and I were joking about this before, Mike, that when I was in your office saying I'm going to run for president, like I joked that I was like the cryptocurrency of presidential candidates because it was like the thing that like, some people didn't see value in and then it ended up, doing something. So when did you first find out or hear about cryptocurrency? And then what was it that spurred you to make like a significant investment that now has, in my opinion, just you single-handedly helped change the trajectory and history of what cryptocurrencies are and how they're perceived. But like, do you remember the first time someone came to you?
So a buddy called me up and he said, dude, have you heard of Bitcoin? I said, no. I said, do me a favor, look into it. And so I Googled it. I asked some guys on my desk, and it took me about an hour to realize it's going to go higher. It was trading. This was 2013. It was trading at $95. And there were lots of reasons I thought it would go higher. It resonated with libertarians. We were in 2012, the European financial crisis, coming off the back of the great financial crises. And there was all this worriness around quantitative easing, right? Ben Bernanke was the central bank governor, and he was printing lots of money. And so lots of very smart people thought we would have hyperinflation. They didn't know the Tea Party was coming. And so there was this world that worried about inflation, these libertarians that didn't buy the government. There were these cypherpunks that wanted to live off the grid. So there was these constituencies that wanted to participate in this kind of new technology, which was really cool technology. And you can boil it down to one simple sentence. It was the first digital signature you couldn't counterfeit. And because of that, we could have digital money for the first time. Before that, I would just be like, Yang sent me a Yang dollar. I'm going to make 5,000 of them and send them around, right? But this blockchain thing, Satoshi's white paper thing, said, if I send you a Yang dollar, it's only the Yang dollar. And that concept, I was like, that's really freaking cool. And so this new technology and all these constituents, plus the Chinese were buying, I was like, it's going to go up. And so I bought it originally as a speculative asset, thinking I'm a speculator, I'll be smart. Now I bought a lot of it, partly because I had a whole lot of fucking money, And so when you're worth $800 million to buy 3 million it's a bet, but it's, less than 1% of your net worth.
Sure.
What took courage was to talk about it publicly, to say, I actually think this is a really interesting technology. And I didn't do it overnight. I was actually kind of thrust onto the stage. I was written about in the FT because there were some reporters at a conference I thought where I didn't think there was press, and I was waxing on about this. And next time and then I started getting asked to speak at the Oxford Union on TV. So I had to do more homework because I didn't want to look like an idiot. And so as I dug in and tried to understand, and I'm not a computer science guy, it was complicated computer science. But really understand the essence and meet the people, I realized that this was more than a financial trick, that this was a social revolution. And it was a political revolution. It was a revolution that said, we don't trust the center. We think the world is being built unfairly. We want more transparency. We want a more egalitarian framework. And we want to, we're leery of governments. We're leery of JP Morgan. We're leery of all the rent takers. And so it had a revolutionary spirit that resonated with me. And after I left Fortress, or it left me, and I dug in, I really understood that this was a Gen Z and millennial middle finger to the system, that they somehow intuitively knew that the baby boomers were spending all the money, that grandpa's third hip operation was worth more than investing in education for the generation that hasn't been born, and that we were blowing up deficits. And so people are like, well, why are all the young kids buying it? This is the social currency of Gen Z and the millennials. And they might not even be conscious of it, but because the baby boomers have screwed the planet up. And now guys like you are trying to figure out, how do we fix it? We need moral leadership to try to fix it. But this was a movement of young people that wanted more transparency, that want something that's more fair. And so that resonated with my political ideals. And so, because I didn't think I'd ever go back to work. It's running a family office is work, but it's really nice work. You make some bets. People come, they shine your shoes. They tell you how handsome you are.
You make a movie every once in a while. You do some things. You invest in nonprofits. Like, yeah, it's beautiful.
And so I remember telling my team, I was like, guys, we've been sitting here for 2 years getting our shoes shined. We're now the shoe shine boys. Get on your knees and pull out the grease and start because running a customer business and really trying to build something is client focused. And so I wasn't going to make that decision lightly. And I made it under three. I said, I need to be with young people. And this is a young person's movement. I need to be learning something every day. And when you get into the venture world, I remember meeting you from Venture America, and I invested in a escape room. Like the young energy around venture is fascinating.
Yeah.
Because you learn every conversation. And third, I needed to feel like I had a contribution to make. And I tease about being the oldest guy in crypto, but I did think there was a contribution to connect this crypto energy to institutions.
I mean, you're one of the preeminent bridge builders and, frankly, in my mind, like stampers of legitimacy in many ways. One reason I connected with the cryptocurrency community when I was running for president, and I talked to you about this before, is I found that something like 98% of cryptocurrency investors endorsed some version of universal basic income. And I think that one of the reasons for that overlap was that if you invest in cryptocurrencies, you have a mindset of abundance, of optimism. You think about the future and how things can be better. And you also, frankly, you see people laboring in scarcity and you think, maybe there's a better way because you've seen something go from, in your case, $95 to $50,000 like over a particular period of time. And then when you see people, and obviously people working hard, I mean, you and I appreciate the value of hard work, but like the overlap I've found between cryptocurrency investors and folks that want to make things better and more modern in terms of how people's time gets spent, like the overlap is very, very high.
To understand cryptocurrencies, at its core, you start thinking about new economic models.
Yeah.
And like, how would it work? Why are we using the old model if it's not working? And I remember there's a guy named Dan Larimer, and I talked to him for hours about UBI. And he had the most interesting way of thinking about UBI, which was, why just because you're Saudi Arabian born, do you get all the oil resources just randomly because you were lucky to be born on Saudi Arabia? So like maybe we should share the world's resources. And that if you taxed total wealth about 3% a year and redistributed it over time with a generation and a half, you're recycling total wealth. And his idea of redistributing it wasn't all at once. It was like, listen, if the five of us go to an island and we give everyone equal sums, the most commercial guy's going to have all the money in about 32 days. But if we leak out a little bit each day, if Andrew Yang's the shark, the rest of us realize, stay away from the shark after a few bites. And so, you can literally, because of the technology of cryptocurrency, create a system that pays people by the hour.
Wow.
Like think about government, government transfer payments. You could literally have them being delivered by the minute.
Wow.
And so I keep thinking we've got a world that's so disjointed. The rich-poor gap is as wide as it's ever been in history. I gave a speech in 2006 that said the rich-poor gap is so wide, it's going to end in a revolution. That was 15 years ago, and it's so much worse.
It's skyrocketed since then, yeah.
And so we need some redistribution, but government has not been a great way to redistribute. It's inefficient, it's bureaucratic. And so you can see a system of redistribution directly.
Wow.
Wallet to wallet, on some algorithm that everyone kind of agreed to, or the politics agreed to. And so it draws crypto nerds in because crypto nerds are about how do we use this technology to start reimagining things. And I think you're right, abundance is a big part of it. But it's also how do we reimagine social policy?
Even that exchange where you highlighted some of the possibilities using the blockchain is incredible. I mean, no wonder you talk to Dad for hours, because that'd be fascinating. I mean, the need for new economic models is so clear. And I think the cryptocurrency community is light years ahead of a lot of us, in large part because most human beings operate in a mindset of resource scarcity. It's kind of hardwired into us. It's biological.
They also operate with the same mistake I made when you said you want to be president, with a presupposition of they know what that means. I know what a president's supposed to have gone through. Therefore, if he doesn't pick the box, I short circuit. I learned a great lesson with your success of saying, like, wait a minute. So in crypto, it's the same thing. We're operating, most people say, these are the economic tools I'm allowed to think about. And the crypto guys are like, no, we can make new tools, right? And so it's a really interesting, analogy of opening up your mind and opening up the toolkit.